In this war that we're talking about right now, had we come out of general election, my good friend in front of me, remember, Maida, would have been the premier, and I think you were the second highest. No? You were, yeah, yeah, I mean,
The news is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Ramney Tertola Pier Park, and Digicel. Sign up for Digicel Plus Home Light bundles, faster internet, movies, and sports. Deputy Premier and Minister for Environment, Natural Resources and Climate Change, Honorable Julian Fraser RA, has described the Constitution Review public consultation process as flawed.
Madam Speaker, the process was flawed. It was a flawed process. This whole constitutional review, commissions, public consultation was a flawed process.
During a recent sitting of the House of Assembly of the Virgin Islands, where legislators debated the Constitution Review report, Fraser argued that the process was flawed because the Commission was obliged to accept contributions from anyone who attended or submitted comments.
Why was this flawed, Madam Speaker? I'll tell you why. Anyone who appeared in any of those meetings, or anyone who was ambitious enough to make a submission, whether in writing or verbally, was to be heard, and whatever the submission was to be taken seriously. And it had equal weight, no matter where you're from, no matter who you are, no matter your gender or whatever. Now, Madam Speaker, if a cruise ship came into Tortola 9 o'clock in the morning and decided they weren't leaving until 10 p.m., it means that the passengers have all rights to be in the community until 10 p.m. So the Commission is having a meeting in Sikaus by the community center. And those passengers, some of the passengers from the ship decide to wander into that room, sit down, and voice their opinion, or just talk. What the Commission is going to say is that they received comments at a meeting in the Sikaus Bay Community Center from the public, or from the community. But who are these people? And I'm not making this stuff up, Madam Speaker. This is possible. This is what they're talking about. They could not discriminate between a local, a foreigner, a visitor, a person who just, just wandered in. So how could this be considered anything but flawed?
At that point, Fraser was reviewing the section of the report addressing one of the most discussed issues, the review of the at-large system.
So when I see statements like this, Madam Speaker, the topic that drew the highest number of comments from the public was the need for electoral reform with particular emphasis on reviewing the at-large system.
Fraser also rejected the recommendation that the Premier be elected from the at-large system, with cabinet members drawn from it as well.
The report recommends that the territory should adopt a system of election of the Premier and the Deputy Premier by selecting the holders of these offices from the pool of at-large candidates rather than through a direct election, the latter being a characteristic of the presidential system which is not supported by the Constitution. Madam Speaker, I don't wish to cast aspersions on the language when talking about things like this, having the Premier and the Deputy Premier elected at large, and how this kind of, who came up with these so-called requirements. It says chapter 2, executive summary says, subject to such boundaries, review, the commission recommends and increase in either the number of seats in the House of Assembly from 13 to at least 15, made up of 9 districts seats and 6 at-large seats, an increase of 2. Or the number of seats in the House of Assembly from 13 to 15, all at large. I don't tell you what I think about that. This thing about all at large, that can't fly. I can't fly, Madam Speaker.
In stating his firm belief in the district system, he contended that what was proposed in the report would amount to turning back the clock to an earlier arrangement, a system, he said, that had originally been developed out of revenge.
No, Madam Speaker. Let's look at what we have before us right now. In this war that we're talking about right now, had we come out of general election, my good friend in front of me, Member Maida, would have been the premier. And I think you were the second highest. No? You were, yeah, I mean, you spend a little too much time reading this stuff. So they preceded them. You would have been the deputy premier. No one would have been able to touch you. And the rest of us would have. So I don't even think, Madam Speaker, that this line of logic, it would be interesting to know how much support this line of logic will get after we finish with this process, while we're going through this process. This line of logic. Somehow, somewhere, people don't understand that we came out of that large system eons ago. And we were hovering around another system that was close to it, where the number of districts were limited. And people advocated for the district system. In a hybrid model, a government should, as far as possible, form its cabinet from amongst at-large members. This is a feature that the members of the public called for and with which the Commission agrees. Although it is not being advocated that it be a mandatory requirement, as some flexibility will be needed given the small size of the House of Assembly. Again, all the members of the cabinet must come from the at-large. I don't even know what I will do if this happens. Quit politics? I can't do like my friend here, go at large, come to this district. I know I can't do it. Probably rub too many people the wrong way. So I'll just stay home. So, but that's not the reason. That's not the reason I don't believe in it. I just believe in district politics. I believe in it. The large system is something that came out of, those of you who don't know, it came out of vengeance. Those people who believed that they needed to be in politics but they couldn't get in, so they just said, well, let's get the ones that are in there out by making sure that we go at large. But it's just that the wisdom of the guy who was running the country at the time, what he did was he merged the at-large in the district. He brought them in. Because the at-large people who were, the 4 at-large seats were supposed to be independent. They were not supposed to be a part of any party. But they didn't say that. It was just their thoughts. And they thought it was just going to work natural. But they didn't say it. It wasn't in writing. It says in the hybrid model, at-large members should concentrate on national issues and raise such matters for debate in the House of Assembly. See, at large, people don't get elected just by being at large. They get at large through the districts. So you come in here and you just start talking about the territorial stuff. When time for election comes, the people don't know you. They're like, I guess you'll change your way of your campaign methods. But I don't have to worry about that. I don't think any one of us should be worrying about this right now anyway.
With this JTV News Update, Kathy Richards.
We know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.
Large and small corporations in the BVI can't be wrong. Bovi HR, a BVI-based integrated solution of employee timesheets, leave tracking, scheduling, employment letters, HR processes, pay slips, and tax reports, including NHI, Social Security, and Inland Revenue, will make your management of employees easier. While Bovi HR can cater to the needs of larger enterprises, it also works exceptionally well for small companies. To sign up, visit bovihr.com, that is BOVIHR.com, or call us at 342-968.